Coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
The clouds are rolling in, the wind is most certainly howling, and this is Safari Live. Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to, well, a very windy sunset safari. We had our suspicions and we thought that it was not going to let up, and it hasn't. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is the great and mighty Sebastian, bringing you all the most incredible shots. I reckon we're going to have to do lots of things like looking at trees and that. But anyways, this is live, this is interactive, it's happening right now in the northeastern corner of South Africa, and we'd love to interact with you. So hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and well, you're also welcome to chat on the YouTube chat if that suits you a little bit better. And well, we look forward to hearing all of your questions. But don't you think it's so beautiful with the contrasting of the really dark blue skies? And if you had any doubt as to how to identify a knobthorn tree at this time of the year, well, it's fairly easy, don't you think? With those absolutely gorgeous yellow flowers. Isn't that amazing? I think it's a very pretty shot, and I kept saying to you that I was hoping to see the marula trees turn yellow against the dark blue sky, but I missed that this year. Well, I suppose as always next year we'll catch it again. At least we've got some sort of yellow going on, and they smell absolutely delicious too. Although I haven't really smelt them anymore. They're obviously on their way out. The flowers don't normally last too long. Isn't that cool? Now, I'm not sure what we're going to find today. It's very windy, of course, but we'll try our absolute best. Perhaps some birding's on the card. But Senzo and Tristan are also out and about. Let's go across to them and see what their plans are. Oh, hello everyone. So you're not going anywhere. What we're going to do, we're actually just going to wait here until Tristan's picture comes back up, as we need to put some GoPros out at some point. Sebastian is going to put a GoPro on this knobthorn tree, if I'm not mistaken, as we want to start doing some time lapses of sort of the weather's changing, and it is quite nice, of course, today with all the clouds. It would make for a beautiful time lapse. So we're just going to wait here, because otherwise we have to drive all the way around and then come all the way back, and it's going to ruin my plans of actually ending up at Chitwa. So we'll just have to stand by at the moment. The grass is actually fairly long here still on this end of quarantine. It's very different from the eastern corner of the open area just behind camp. Obviously this grass is maybe not as favourable, and perhaps the animals just haven't made it down this end just yet. We normally see lots of zebra and wildebeest out on the open, but not now. They should come back just before the sun sets. They'll make their way up here, including the Impala, and every now and then a few Inyala join them too. So hopefully they'll come and settle down here to try and avoid any predators. That's normally our sort of first indication in the morning, as if we wake up and we see all the animals out in the open, we know, okay, well, probably no predators have walked through. But when you come out first thing and there's not a sign of an animal, you know that a leopard or a lion or even the hyenas have given chase to some of the animals that like to frequent this area. I haven't seen the family of warthogs either that normally like it around here. I wonder where they've gone. Perhaps they've changed burrows now in an area where there is, well, better grazing. Remember, they can't use the same holes all the time, otherwise they'll get spotted by the predators. Oh my goodness, look at this knobthorn tree at the moment. It is shaking about. It's not too bad though. Of course we need the wind. It's very good. It's very, very good for pollination, so it isn't a bad thing. And like I was saying this morning, is that we are coming into the windiest season of the year. Well, it doesn't normally last for too long anyways. Just thinking what we're going to do. Tristan, get out of that sneaky spot. Are you okay? Okay. Well, we're going to have to do the time lapse another day then. Sorry, Seb. Otherwise we can't spend all afternoon waiting for Tristan to get picture back. We all know how that goes, how nasty the gremlins can of course be. Now Bree, you say it looks clear and crispy. I don't know, the sky's got plenty of clouds in today though. There's not the rain type of clouds just yet. It looks like there's a couple of altocumulus clouds forming. Definitely some stratus clouds about as well. but no big cumulonimbus clouds. And it's actually something quite exciting though, and something for us to all look forward to is, of course, those big massive clouds, and hopefully we'll get them towards the end of September. Hi birdies. Let's have a look at, no, right, not playing ball today, is it? Oh, there it is. It has still landed. It's a red-billed hornbill. I actually tried to put them on, Sebastian tried to put them on camera for you this morning, and then they weren't cooperating. But now this one seems to be behaving a little bit better. Very wind-blown at the moment. I definitely think we're going to have to visit some thickets today, and I think that's where the concentration of game is going to be. But Tristan has managed to kick the gremlins off of his car. I know he said something about searching for Tumba. Let's go find out where he is.
Well, good afternoon everybody, and welcome to our sunset safari from myself, Tristan, and Senzo on camera. And yes, we've been battling gremlins already this afternoon, but hopefully that will be the last time we battle them for the rest of the day. Now, it is a windy afternoon, which means that finding animals is going to be quite difficult, I would imagine. So we are going to try and see if we can't find Tumba. We did have Nyala barking around the lodge and tracks for a young male leopard there, so whether that's Hosana or Tumba, I'm not quite sure. We drove and we checked and we went through some horrible thickets, but alas, no sign just yet, so we're gonna have to keep working in that area. So I've decided to come to the hyena den. I'm not quite into the area just yet. I've got to edge slightly forward, which I will do now. So if a leopard does pop out on the dam cam, hashtag Safari Live, or on the YouTube chat, you can let us know. Otherwise, if you want to ask any questions or just say hello, you can use those same two platforms as well. Right, now let's see if the hyena den is active. From here, where I am sitting, it does not look as... Oh, wait, hang on. There is a hyena right there. I can see it, but it's on the back side. Okay, so let's go around. So there is a hyena here, which is fantastic news. At first thought there was none and no sign of any, but there looks like it could be ribbon on the back end there. I can't see nicely, just see a little ginger back sticking out of the grass. Now hopefully she won't walk off or walk around. Where's she gone? She was there. I didn't make it up, I'm sure. Now of course I've just got to get through this bush. Where has she gone? There was a hyena right here somewhere. 2 seconds has now disappeared. Maybe it's gone round the mound somewhere on the other side, but there was one lying just underneath this green tree that you see, and it must have stood up and moved, but I'm trying to scan all around me and I can't see any sign of a hyena moving in this area. Oh, there it is. There, you can see Ntima coming out now, so maybe they are around the other side where the shade is. Hello Ntima. Ntima's coming to say hello to all of you. There we go, coming around the bush, just poking its head out. Good afternoon everybody. She's so curious. She always comes out and has a little look just to make sure that we're not up to no good. So she's now off and moving and checking around. I wonder if the rest of them are lying behind there somewhere. She's busy sniffing. Now I apologize about the millions of branches in the way. I'm sorry Senzo, I'm not making it easy for you, but I thought that they were going to be a little bit more out in the open from where I am. It seems as though they're a bit more hidden, so I might have to reposition just now. Let's just see where Ntima goes. Ntima might be curious enough to actually come towards where we are and come and say hello properly. She often does come waddling along towards the car just to see everything and check everything out and sniff around and make sure that she's on top of the situation as the older of the siblings here. Oh no, now she's laid down. You can see how they can disappear even in this grass. That's how you do it. You just lie down in long thick grass. You can imagine finding leopards, lions, even hyenas in these kind of conditions is almost impossible. Right, Senzo, I think we're going to have to rethink this, because where we are now is in fact no good whatsoever. We're going to have to try and just reposition ourselves, but at least there are some hyenas at the den. It's fantastic news. So I'm going to try and see if I can't get Rusty into reverse. There we go, Rusty's now into reverse. Senzo, I think we're going to try and go through here, which is going to be a little thick, so I do apologize. This is very thick through here. Okay, now the mission today is to try and keep all parts of Rusty and me and Senzo and earpieces and cables intact, because we've had a bad week. There we go. Now we've got our hyena just here. That's the one that obviously walked away. Is that Ribbon or is it Gwen? I can't see nicely. All I can see is their back poking out in the grass. Oh, you're right there, Senzo. Senzo's busy battling a thorn tree, and it looks possibly like it's Gwen. I can't see nicely at all. Like I say, my angle, all I've got is this little spotted fur coat between the branches. There we go. So it is a adult hyena. Are you Gwen or are you Ribbon? I think it's Gwen. Looks like Gwen. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys can help me out. Hashtag Safari Live, whether it's Gwen or Ribbon, but it's one of them, and they obviously are having a very big nap, which is quite common for this time of the day. You'll find that these guys will sleep quite a bit at this time. They'll only wake up once the sun starts to set, in which time they'll go towards the den and call the little ones, and the little ones will come out to get a feed, and then mom is off to go and try and find food and to go and check around and probably to go and torment Taylor, because Ribbon and Gwen spend a lot of time around the camp, and they are constantly dragging bins and all kinds of other things, which means that Taylor is constantly on guard and having to do night patrol and check out and make sure that these guys don't eat and chew and break and maim our rubbish bins and kitchen area. So certainly do keep Taylor busy at night. I would imagine though that with this wind, this is going to be fairly typical. A lot of the predators is just hunkering down in thick grass, waiting for the wind to die. Raiza, you're wondering where the main den site is with the matriarch. Raiza, that is a fantastic question, and I wish I knew the answer to it, because we have no idea where the matriarchal females are denning at the moment. We've looked, we've checked, we constantly keep checking the older dens just to make sure that there isn't any sign of Pretty and Madam and the rest of them, but at this stage no sign of where they are. So I have no idea where that den is. We see them a lot more towards the south of the reserve, so I hypothesize that their den might be off our southern boundary in Hofmans and Little Gari, somewhere there, but that's not confirmed in any way, and it could just be a complete load of rubbish. But given that their tracks go back and forth from that side, and you see them a lot crossing from Treehouse southwards, and particularly because I've seen them a lot of mornings going from Treehouse southwards, that I would think that the den is somewhere that side. But I could of course be horribly wrong, and there might be a den somewhere here, we just haven't found it yet, and time will tell. Funny enough, hyena dens aren't as easy to find as one would think. The hyenas move a lot at night, and their tracks are pretty much on every single road that covers this particular area, and you can drive a road and you'll find a hyena track on it. So following tracks is not easy to lead you to a den. In fact, most of the times that I found hyena dens, it's been following other animals, wild dogs, leopard, lion, whatever it may be, and you're driving through the bush and all of a sudden there's a termite mound and a hyena on top or near it, and you can then see that they've been denning or active in that area. So that's probably the easiest way, but I suppose you could follow them through the bush and try and find their dens, but sometimes they roam big distances, and if they're not denning at that time, you could end up going a long way, and you'll end up not finding anything, and they just rest somewhere. Now I believe there are some answers as to who our hyena is. I hypothesize Gwen, but I might be wrong. There we go. So Crystal, you say it's definitely Gwen. Thank you, Crystal. It, like I say, looked like her from what I can see on the monitor. That right ear is quite damaged and has got a lot of little nicks out of it, but from the angle that I'm sitting, it's amazing how a few centimeters or about half a meter difference between the camera and where I am gives a completely different view. The camera's got a full-on clear view, and well, all I can see is a back leg at the moment over a fallen over tree. So definitely is Gwen from what I can see. Also, the problem with this afternoon is the wind is howling and there's so much dust in the air that our monitors are covered in them, and even though you wipe it, it just tends to be covered in the next second again. So seeing is not very easy. We know that Taylor this morning had a rather comical incident with a oxpecker and a kudu, and which was very entertaining. I went and watched the clip on it, and it certainly was quite funny. So when the monitors are a bit dusty, it is very hard for us to sometimes see exactly what's going on, particularly when the sun's out, because it gets a lot of glare off the dust, and you battle to actually see what is happening. But there we go. Now we can see. Now I can see that she's got her head up. It's most definitely Gwen. So thank you, Crystal. Appreciate the help. Crystal is probably one of our biggest experts on the hyenas in Djuma. She knows them very well. So a trusted opinion, that's for sure. Oh, Gwen, has it been a long evening? Gwen looks quite full though. If I have a look at that tummy, you can see there it's not full, but given that we're in the afternoon, I wouldn't be surprised she managed to find herself a little meal last night somewhere along the line. Maybe she found herself a kill from one of the leopards and stole it and had a good feed, because there's a slight bulge to it. Remember, they do digest very fast, and it's amazing how quickly you see hyenas digesting. I've had hyenas that have been on elephants or buffalo or hippos, and they are absolutely massive. They have these big round stomachs in the morning, and they're waddling, they can hardly move, and by the afternoon they've come right down and they end up looking quite similar to what Gwen does now. So I think she's had a fairly decent meal. She certainly doesn't look skinny in any way. She's looking really good for an older female, and hopefully she's going to be around for a long time to come, and the little ones are going to be out and about at some stage today. I would imagine though what we're going to probably have to do is we'll spend some time here now and then come back a little bit later, because we do also have a school joining us a little bit later, and so we'll come back to the den, and hopefully when we come back around sunset, the little tiny ones will be bouncing around all over the show, as they have been a few times in the last few weeks. So cool to see those little ones. They're such cute little things. Yvonne, you're wondering if Ntima is old enough to hunt with her mother. Yvonne, no, not yet. Ntima is not that old. She's only about 7 months now. So she's unfortunately still a little on the young side. She's a bit small, and so going and hunting is not the best idea. One is she doesn't have the technique. Two, she doesn't have the bulk and size to be able to bring down certain things, and then to cope if any other predators come in. So you'll find Ntima will only probably start moving around with the clan at a year old, which is when she's going to start learning, and she's going to start watching the adults and see how they go about their business. And then she'll only probably progress once she gets to sort of 2-3 to be able to actively participate in hunts if the hyenas do go on hunts. Now, a lot of people might think hyenas don't hunt at all. In fact, they do, and particularly in the Sabi Sands area, they scavenge a lot, and that's what gives them this misnomer. But I've seen hyenas in this particular area hunting. If you go to the west slightly, the Elephant Plains clan, I've seen them kill bushbuck, impalas, kudu, wildebeest, buffalo. So there's a number of different individuals that they will hunt. Now, unfortunately, I'm getting dust in my eyes, so I do apologize if you see me closing one eye every now and then. When that wind gusts, there's just dust everywhere. And so let's quickly go across to Taylor with her feathered friend. We'll see you all in a little bit.
You're talking nonsense, Tristan. It's okay to get emotional about these things. Nature's just so fantastic. Here we have, though, the survivor of the 3 blacksmith lapwing chicks that hatched a couple of weeks ago. I only saw them when they were a few days old, and then I went on holiday, and we came past, we put the camera back up so we could do some more time lapses, and we found this one little chick. Careful, that's a little bit deep there. And it's chasing after insects. I think it's actually trying to get around to the other side of the dam to go back to the parents, because Sebastian obviously panicked them slightly, and I was really worrying for Sebastian's life at one point. I thought that Mr. Blacksmith Lapwing was going to come about and bop him on the head. But he managed to survive unscathed. So that's quite good. Now, it's a funny looking thing. It's definitely only a face that a mother could love. It reminds me of something between a Burchell's starling and I suppose a blacksmith lapwing, don't you think? It's not quite there just yet. Very mottled feathers, and that's how you can tell that it's a juvenile. It's also not quite as tall as the adults. It's got the white patch on the back of the neck that they get. It's almost like the front half is getting the adult colours, and the rest of it's run out of ink. Maybe the printer ran out of ink. It's still going there, so it will lose all of that stuff and all those mottled feathers, and then eventually it'll be fine. Oh, So I believe, thank you to an update from the Zoomies, sorry. Apparently there is another nest with one egg at Vuyatela Dam. Now, obviously it was quite sad, the fact that the elephants squashed that nest, but again, it was a valuable learning experience, and hopefully those blacksmith lapwings on that side don't make the same mistake again. But I think that this adult is very happy to have the chicks back. It actually looks like it's dropped it off somewhere. Can you see that? Unless it's going to come darting out of the bushes now. It's almost as if that adult has said, hang on, just stay tight here. We don't trust these people in this green car. We don't know if they want to eat you. We don't know what their story is. They got out and they put a strange thing on a tree. Oh, there it comes. So there we go. That's a natural defense. It's not really going to be flying very well, but darting into the long grass is well, of course, a better option to try and keep away from the predators. Don't worry. We're not going to worry about you. Did you say number 5 on Karen's list? Is that correct, Chantal? Sorry, I was too busy babbling while you were talking to me. Number 6. Well done. There we go. That's fantastic news. We'll have to try and get a lot of the common birds for you. There we go, but off they go. Right, let's carry on and see what else we can find. Now we've done with all the cameras. Now let's start looking for some of the animals. See who's been down here today. No one's on top of a termite mound, no one's on top of the trees. I think we'll go this way around. Just have a little look around here. I know Tristan's going to keep searching for those leopards, and hopefully they pop out. And turn the radio down. Once we get closer to the east, I'll contact the guides and find out if they managed to relocate on those Styx lions. I think they actually did move from where they were this morning, because we drove round and round and round and round, in and out on 2 tracks. We off-roaded a little bit. We couldn't find anything. So maybe our chances will be better this afternoon. Perhaps they'll go on a hunting mission again. It's great weather. So we'll make our way there. Maybe we'll see any fresh tracks of another predator that's been moving around, utilizing the perfect hunting weather. But let's go back across to Tristan, who's at the hyena den, and hopefully Gwen's adorable little cubs will come out.
Well, we're really hoping so, Taylor. At the moment, I don't think we're going to see much of them. I'm sure they're enjoying the fact that they're inside a nice sheltered termite mound and don't have to deal with this horrible wind that is blowing. And also the fact that Gwen is lying all the way over here, quite far from the den itself, means that I highly doubt she's going to try and make her way anywhere towards where... Well, I don't highly doubt that the cubs will make their way towards where she is at the moment. Those little cubs are still tiny. They're only about 4 weeks old, I would imagine, by now. And so they're not venturing from the den very much at all. They're absolutely sort of static around that den and quite nervous to move. So I think they're going to wait until Gwen moves closer before they come out, and she actually calls them out. That will help. But like I say, we're probably going to carry on for now while she's sleeping and come back a little bit later. As I say, there are we do have a school later, and later will also help with maybe the cubs being out, so it's going to be better to spend time a little bit more sort of closer towards sunset. Also, I've got to try and figure a way of getting out here, so let's just try and see if maybe if we change angle a little bit, we can see if there's any other hyenas around. Just careful there, Senzo, because I've got to go back a little bit to go forward. Now watch yourself, Senzo, because this is a sharp tree on the left. Oh no, careful, Senzo. Sorry, buddy. Oh. Now, unfortunately, our view of Gwen from here is probably not going to be any better whatsoever, which I had hoped. You can see she's just now behind a fallen over stump, so that's not going to really work either. I reckon what we're going to do, like I said, is just move on and let her enjoy a nice afternoon's rest in the sun. It's amazing because 2 days ago, this poor hyena would have been absolutely suffering if it were to lie exactly where it is now. The sun was beating down, it was hot, it was uncomfortable, but now 2 days later this cold wind comes and a little cold front arrives, and that's it. The hyena can now lie right out in the sun, and hopefully we're going to find some of our other cats, or other predators should I say, lying out in exactly the same way. Charlie, you're wondering if Gwen is the mother of Ntima? No, so Gwen is the mother of the two new ones, which are about 4 weeks old, as I was saying just now. And the mother of Ntima is Ribbon. Now, Ribbon we also do see a bit. I think she was at the dam cam last night, so she moves around quite a lot. But Ribbon is not here that I can see at the moment, unless she's lying on the other side of the mound. But I'm certainly not going to go around there, because given where we are now, we would have to chase Gwen off to be able to get back towards the mound. So the mound is that way. You can see she's moved quite far there. On the left is the big tree that's on the mound. So I'm not going to go that way and try and chase anybody or disrupt anybody from their sleep that they're busy having. So we'll certainly check a little bit later. But hopefully Ribbon will be around. It would be really nice to have Ribbon, Gwen, Ntima and the little ones all together at some point this afternoon. But nice surprise. Nice to actually see that they're here, that's for sure. It's always good when we know that there's a few hyenas around. Hopefully I can just do a little turn here quickly without having to worry Gwen. Right, now I'm going to get rid of the sticks and all kinds of other nonsense that has managed to fall into the car and do about a 4,000 point turn to try get out of here and not disrupt these hyenas. And while I do that, let's go across to Taylor, who's slowly on her way towards the Mulawati, and I think she's heading towards a rather large, rather grey surprise.
Well, Tristan, it's all thanks to you. You gave me the update that there were some elephants around here, so we contacted Aubrey, and now we're watching this elephant have a death stare with William. You see him there? Actually, it looks like could be a cow, so it's hard to tell from this angle. No, it is a young bull. And he looked like he had a wet trunk, so they're obviously digging for water in the Mulawati too. And sometimes these bulls at a young age, he's not fully grown just yet, they like to play games with us in the cars. But William was not having any of that nonsense. It was quite funny. He just sort of sat there and gave him a death stare back. But we're above them. We're not quite in the Mulawati yet. We're going to make our way around that side. I think just sort of feeding on the outskirts of the drainage line, and it's quite a nice spot in there. It will be very, very, very sheltered. Right, let's go down though. I think let's see if we can get a better view, maybe a closer view. They do seem to be quite relaxed, so hopefully they won't mind us too much. See, it's always a gamble when viewing elephants in drainage lines like this. And that's why I wanted to stop and have a look up here, just to see what their behavior was like, because we've got to go into low range when we're when we're going to the thick sand, otherwise we can't drive through it at all. But ideally, you don't want to go into low range and be anywhere near elephants, because if you need to get away quickly, you cannot do anything quickly when you've engaged 4x4. So it's a tricky one. But if they're relaxed, you know, you can take a bit of a chance, and then hopefully you're reading their behavior well enough that when they do start to get agitated or something starts to bother them, you actually move out of their way before you get yourself in a tricky situation. So I've engaged 4x4 now, and we're lucky. We can sit a little bit away if they get under the tunnel of love now. We're just going to drop the aerial, and then they're actually in their favorite spot too, the elephants, which is really, really nice. It's that spot actually where Tumba's been hanging around the last few days too. It seems to be a popular spot. You good? Yeah. Right, here we go. Under we go. Whee. Okay, so it seems like Aubrey's going to move. Aubrey's going to move off, so I'll pull off the road for him. Just make way, because I know he's got guests. They seem to be leaving the sighting, so we'll just park here. And while also Sebastian's putting the aerial back on, he's put the octopus cable, make it nice and tight so it doesn't bend over. Hello everybody. I'll chat to you guys. Sorry, we're live at the moment, so I'm going to carry on for the elephants, but I'll chat to you guys a little bit later. Right, just saying hello. There's actually some friends of mine on Aubrey's car, and Tristan knows them too, which is really nice. We're quite fortunate actually working here at Wild Earth. I've never seen so many before, you know, coming into the lodges there. A lot of them are photographic guides, so they're bringing groups in to come and stay at Djuma on the surrounding lodges. It's quite nice. We actually do have things outside of work. Can you believe it? Gets a bit expensive though, paying them money. I'm just teasing. Ha ha ha. That's what my mom used to say to me when I'm mean. You won't have anyone. Terrible scare tactic. Elephants now. I'm sure we're gonna get teased by this elephant bull. Yeah, you're gonna shake your head at me. Hello, mister. No, not even worry about us just yet. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's all right. And they're above us, so he'll feel big and brave.
Well, unfortunately, there are still gremlins lurking about the Mulawati, so I'm sure Taylor will be able to swat them off. If not, she'll just get out her little anti-gremlin dance that she has, and hopefully that will chase them away as well. Now, I'm slowly heading back towards where we had the Nyala alarm calling and those leopard tracks, in case that leopard has moved a little bit, and we might then find newer tracks that we can have a look for. The last tracks we had were right up against the drainage, very close to James's tent, that side, somewhere there, so it would be nice if they came out somewhere. Sarans, you're a new viewer, welcome to Safari Live, Sarans. You want to know if there are any other awesome animals besides leopard. Well, of course there are. There's awesome animals everywhere we look. Just because the spotted cats are my favorite and I tend to spend a lot of time looking for them, it doesn't mean that there aren't other awesome animals out here. The lions are incredible, elephants, we've got buffalo and hippos and wild dogs and the hyenas that we've just seen. Then there's all the birds, there's insects, and every single component of this whole environment is unique and very special and is all very, very important in terms of it actually surviving. So even though you've got small little things like termites and they seem irrelevant and they seem as though they're not as special as leopards because we don't spend as much time looking for them, they actually in fact are probably more important than what the leopards are in for the environment. You'll find that even those little insects can cause huge amounts of changes and a lot of things to happen within this ecosystem. So everything that you see here, all these trees, every part of it is special and unique and amazing. So just because we tend to get a little stuck on the leopards, which is my fault, I know, I'm very sorry about that, but just because I get a little bit stuck on them does not mean that any of the other animals are special. Now, there is a red-billed hornbill. I know Taylor was showing them a little bit earlier, and it's just been rooting through some elephant dung, so that's why it's busy cleaning its beak. I suppose if you were pecking away at some elephant dung, you'd also clean your beak afterwards, but that's where it was going through. And the reason why is that elephant dung houses lots and lots of nutrients, which means it's a great place for all kinds of beetles and grubs and insects and termites to go and forage and break down that difficult substance called cellulose, because it's already passed through some sort of digestive system. There we go, it's back again. Let's see if it's going to break apart our elephant dung. And we're talking about special animals, and these hornbills, while they don't seem the brightest when you see them around a camp because they peck at their own reflection, they're actually amazing birds and special in their own right. When they breed, you'll find that unlike a lot of other birds where both male and female will help each other and they'll both sort of brood the eggs and help feed, you'll find that with these guys, the female gives up her freedom, so to speak. She goes inside a hole and stays there while the male flies up and down to go and find food. So the female protects and the male supplies all the nutrients, which is pretty incredible. Now, we are going to go back to Taylor shortly, but before we go there, I just wanted to make special mention of those of you that are helping out this afternoon. I believe that we have a viewer who is deaf, and so a lot of you are sitting and helping describe exactly what we're talking about and writing everything out, and we certainly do appreciate all of those that have helped out there. It is amazing that we are opening up the world to even somebody who can't hear us speaking, and it is very, very special that you guys are helping there. And I'm so glad that we have viewers from all walks of life, race and creeds, and anybody that is able to somehow listen or hear or see. Is incredible that we're with them. So very, very big thank you to those of you that are helping. Now, let's go back across to Taylor with her beautiful elephants now that my hornbill has flown away.
Well, I hope so. I'm too scared to even breathe in case the gremlins utilize my oxygen and then jump on board. I don't know what they're after today. Again, it's those wind gremlins. So we've got 2 elephant bulls. Look at him. He's a big bully, this one right at the back over here. But no surprise, especially to us, to most of you who have been watching for quite some time. But we've constantly got new viewers joining us, which is really fantastic. So welcome to all of you. And basically what's going on at the moment is there are two sub-adult elephants that could be anywhere between the ages, I reckon, about 20 and 25. They're a little bit bigger than a teenage elephant, and they're now pushing and shoving each other around. This is such typical behavior of the young bulls, and I'm hoping that this one on the left musters up some strength and pushes this fella on the right back up. Amazing to hear the clashing with tusks too. So this is practice.
Now it seems as though unfortunately Taylor is still battling with those gremlins on that side of the world. Hopefully she'll be able to sort them out. I'm sure it's with this wind inside the Mulawati, it must be causing absolute havoc. So I'm back at Galago Pan. I haven't gotten very far, as you can imagine, because I only saw you guys 2 seconds ago. So I haven't gotten far, but it's just trying to see where these tracks went, because the guys told me that they had them. I haven't seen them yet, so I'm trying to look myself, but nothing. I would imagine this is the same leopard that was seen on the dam cam last night. Now it could be Tumba. I suppose he could have moved quite far north. We could also be Hosanna. His tracks, or he was seen right up against the main road on the Mulawati yesterday morning, so it could be either of those two really. It's not impossible to be either one, and so I'm just kind of going slowly along and trying to listen. And Rusty unfortunately is so squeaky, I can't hear much over Rusty at the moment. You can hear the brakes are squeaking nicely with all the dust in the air, but there's no tracks that I can see here. Must still be inside there. It was just have walked right past him, because there's certainly... Oh, what was that? I think I've just driven over them. Oopsie. That's not ideal. Did I drive over them? Yes, I think I did. Oh no. That's not ideal at all. I think I may have just driven over those tracks. Whoopsie. Oh well, let's check further up. Maybe we'll find some more. That's not ideal at all. Right, now while I just check around what's going on, let's try and see if we can go across to Taylor for a third time lucky, and hopefully this time the signal will stay.
I'm about to pick up a big stick and start swatting vigorously in the air in a minute, because it's such a beautiful sighting of these elephants, and they're moving around sort of like what we normally see on these windy days down in the drainage lines. But as we keep saying, as the animals are going to start to spend more and more time around here. So we've repositioned. We obviously had to move away, unfortunately, from those two elephant bulls that were sort of pushing and shoving one another. We have got a cow though, and she seems to have a couple of offspring around her too. And what she's doing at the moment, or now she's about to change her feeding habits, she's now stretching up and pulling leaves off of trees. Before, she was actually lifting up big branches and trying to get all the nice green grass that's tucked away underneath. But that looks like a good tree to feed on. I'm trying to figure out actually what are you eating? Looks like maybe a jackalberry or something. Delicious. Now, Snazzy, you were wondering if the drainage line is attractive. Yes and no. So it's attractive to the elephants for water, because they're the only ones that can really dig for it. The others sort of rely on going to established dams and watering holes or pans. But what happens in these winter months is, because there is a natural source of water, and quite a good source of water, just below the sand, the water table is quite high in this area, is that all the vegetation is quite lush as well. And these animals spend almost 70% of their time in the winter months feeding along the drainage systems. So they've obviously browsed and grazed on the open areas, fed on all those trees where the grass would have been sort of standing nice and tall, and now they've moved away from those areas and they'll start to feed around here. So we will see plenty of duiker and steenbok and nyala and bushbuck and kudu, which are normally well adapted to the thicker vegetation. But you'll also see the impala coming down now. You might see the odd wildebeest too. They'd definitely be down here today trying to keep out of the wind. But this is a favorite known spot of the elephants. We've actually seen them in this corner. I probably had 50 or 60 sightings, if not even more, over the past year, just in this area with elephants. It's a good spot. There's lots of sort of wells, not natural wells, the elephants have dug them to get water out. And I always talk about this. I have never seen this behavior in South Africa, but in Zambia, we used to watch the zebra and the waterbuck, and even the impala and baboons following the elephants around and even drinking from the same sort of wells that the elephants have dug in the dry riverbeds instead of having to walk all the way down to the Great Zambezi River. I found that really amazing that they knew that they could follow those birds. Well, there's a kingfisher that's just flown just to the right of that elephant on that dead tree. I think it's a brown-hooded kingfisher. No, literally where her rear end is, there's a dead tree, and you see it just there. It just caught my eye. It's quite white. Is it a brown-hooded? There we go. You got it. Yes, it is. Hello. Beautiful birds, aren't they? One of the most common sort of kingfisher that we have in the area. And what's quite interesting about it is, even though the name suggests that they eat fish, they do. They eat tadpoles and things as well, but they prefer
Now, unfortunately, once again, gremlins have interfered. Those pesky gremlins. I think we have to ask Taylor to do an anti-gremlin dance again. I certainly think it's worth a bash. She did one so nicely once at Chitwa Dam, and it worked so well, her and Eggsy, so I'm sure she can do volume 2 for all of you. She certainly was jiving and jamming and doing her thing before drive, so I'm sure she won't mind doing it again. Just throwing that out there. You never know. Hopefully. Now, we do have some impalas because, well, there's very little else around at the moment, so I'm just stopping here, listening and trying to see what's going on around here. There was some grey go-away birds making quite a bit of noise, which they do sometimes do if there's some sort of disturbance, but there was nyala standing right underneath them, and I scanned around, couldn't see anything, so just carried on and came up towards these impalas. But you can see they're still cold. Generally, impalas wouldn't look so fluffy at this time of the day, so they're still on the chilly side. They've got their fur erected, trying to trap warmth and trying to keep their bodies as nicely insulated as possible. You can also see it being disturbed by a few flies there as well. Lots of biting flies over the last few days, particularly when it was hot. They seemed to come out in their droves, and they were quite unpleasant a few days ago in the Mulawati when we were with some elephants and Tumba. I'm hoping with this wind and this little bit of cold snap that will be the end of them for a while again, because they can be a little bit on the irritating side. So I do sympathize with these impalas when the flies are around. We should start to be seeing the impalas growing, well, females in particular, starting to grow small little baby bumps. It won't be very obvious yet, but slowly but surely they should start showing as we move towards November, December, when they start to give birth en masse. You should be able to see that some of them are already a little bit pregnant. Now, of course, that little one won't be pregnant because it's a small male and was only born in the last year. So generally you'll find with the males, they don't breed in any way until they're about 3.5 years. So those guys have got a long way to go until they are successfully participating in the rut and the mating season. But the females, funny enough, they breed fairly early on. There's a starling that's busy rooting around. I think it's a starling. Yes, Birchall starling. That's getting any little insects that are being disturbed by the impalas. So I was saying that the females, they'll mate within just after their first year. So you'll find that they are about 1.5 years when they mate for the first time. So they're already breeding early on. Now we're going to try again. Hopefully Taylor, maybe she did her dance off air, has vanquished the gremlins, and let's hope that's the last we see of them for the last time.
I haven't, unfortunately. Hopefully, well, the gremlins keep off of the car, because it was such a beautiful, well, I thought for once I wasn't stumbling on my words. We're having a good laugh. Everything was going so perfectly. The Kingfisher is even still here. So I want to very quickly wrap on my Kingfisher story. As I do this often, I often forget to continue. So basically the gist of it was that it's unusual. It's not a common behavior to see kingfishers actually following mammals around. I've only seen it a couple of times. It hasn't spotted anything just yet. But I suspect as soon as those young elephants that are all starting to come down now, hopefully once they play about, you know what they're like, they push and shove in between the trees, they'll definitely disturb some insects. And if you go just to the left, there's actually the fork-tailed Drongo in line with oh, it's just flown down now. Typical. There it is, it's back again. So right in there. So there's the typical culprit that is known to follow mammals around, not just of the large kind like the elephants, but they follow from Impala to Kudu to giraffe and zebra, buffalo. They'll follow them around too. And that one's not wasting any time. It's actually diving down quite often. Obviously, the Drongo doesn't feel threatened by the kingfisher because it's not bopping it on the head like it does to all the other birds. But I'm worried about that kingfisher, because if that elephant swings its tail up, it's going to be in trouble. It's going to get swatted off of the branch. Could be quite funny to watch, not going to lie. Probably have a little giggle. Feel sorry for the kingfisher though. Let's hope that that doesn't happen. And the young calf just going in to have a suckle now too. Take care, you've said that that was a lovely bird. It is indeed. Kingfisher really beautiful, and of course we are awaiting the return of the woodland kingfisher. But how nice is that to have so many different bird species in a sighting with my favorite animal in the whole wide world. I must also tell you, while I was up in Mapungubwe National Park, I saw a carmine bee-eater. I couldn't believe my eyes. I saw lots of white-fronted bee-eaters. They're quite common around there. But I also saw just one. I don't know if it had maybe got lost. It is on the border of Zimbabwe and Botswana, and those are normally the areas that they hang around in before they come down this way. So that was quite interesting. It just shows you a lot of the birds are on their way. I can't remember if I mentioned it to you or not. These Ellies are spending quite a bit of time around the same spot. So obviously this tree is not really filled with tannins. We know that the animals don't like to feed on trees that have got high sort of quantities of tannins. It's not really nice for them, and they can actually become ill. Although elephants have got relatively poor digestive systems compared to the rest of the mammal species, so they might be able to withstand those tannins a little bit longer. It was very interesting. They're completely destroying that young jackalberry tree though. It looks like for the past few years it's actually been fed on quite often. It's dwarfed now. Now, Nigel, you were wondering, I've got distracted. I'm trying to figure out, there's a little elephant that keeps opening its ears and swinging its trunk. Sorry, Nigel, I'll get to your question now. No, it stopped. I wonder if it didn't see a bird. Anyway, so your question was, do the elephant's diet sort of change at all throughout the seasons? Actually, quite a bit. In summer, when we have our rainy seasons and the grass is lovely and green, elephants are predominantly grazers. Actually, most of their diet actually consists of grass, but of course, coming into the winter, the dry season or the yellow season, it has to change because grass is not enough to sustain it through the harsh months. So they feed on leaves, they feed on fruit. We get fruit at pretty much all year round. The different plants drop fruit at different stages, which is quite nice. It keeps also the birds and the animals that need to feed on fruit in check. And then coming into this time of the year, we'll start to see them feeding on a lot of bark. So this is where we really get to watch how strong elephants actually are, because they'll push down massive trees, they'll push marulas over, they'll push knob thorns over. Not just do they feed on the bark, on the cambium layer, they'll actually also dig for the roots, and they're looking for bulbs. And this is a good area for them to actually look for bulbs because it's sandy, so the soil is really, really soft here. And they're able to use their tusks, use their feet, even use their trunk to sort of dig and scoop sand out and eventually get a delicious treat. And we know roots and bulbs are full of moisture, so it's a good way to get some water into your diet too. But luckily for us out here, I don't think the animals necessarily struggle too much for water, except when we have a drought. Obviously, we had the worst one that had been seen for the last 100 years. It started off in 2015. It was really quite horrific. It was not fun to see. The animals were very stressed. Even the elephants, to an extent, you start to see all their vertebrae and their hip bones. It wasn't a pleasant sight. But just through a normal winter, normal dry season, most of these animals will be fine. Some of the pans are pumped, because remember, we unfortunately as humans have stopped the natural migration of these animals. Normally they would have been able to have gone to the base of the Drakensberg Mountains. We talk about this quite often, and drink water from all those natural springs, but they can't do that anymore because we've put the big fences up. And of course it's for their safety though. Without it, unfortunately, human and animal conflict, it's not great. It's been an occurrence that's been going on for a very, very long time, and the animals end off coming out of that second base. And we don't want that, so we try and keep them safe in these areas. So we pump some water into the pans as well, just to help them out a little bit. Now, we're sitting here and we're looking at various elephants. We've been lucky. We've been seeing young bulls, we've been seeing older cows, young calves. And Paula, you're wondering at what age does an elephant sort of reach maturity? Well, it's different from male to female. Females mature slightly quicker than the boys. So a cow can start giving birth. I mean, I've seen young cows as young as about 15, 16 years old, being mated with by big bulls. So just as young as that. But again, it's different from each individual. Some may develop earlier than others, just as us with humans. It's very difficult. But I'd say anywhere between 15 and 20 years old, a cow will have her first calf. Now, with the males, it's completely different. At between 15 and 20 years old, they're just getting pushed out of the family herd, because remember, they don't stay with the breeding herd, which consists of females that are closely related. So they've got to go on their own way, and they live sort of a bachelor life. They join up with other young bulls, or sometimes they go off on their own. They'll tail the really big bulls in the area and sort of use them as mentors, and mainly the big bulls keep the youngsters in check. So it depends on how many big bulls are within that area, and that can determine at what age a bull will mate for the first time. But typically in an area like this, where there are lots of big elephants, I would say anywhere between 30 and 35, they're becoming sort of sexually mature. They might not even maybe mate at that stage, because there could be some really massive elephants, and we've been lucky. We've seen some huge ones out here on the show, and if those boys are around, they most certainly will not yet let a young contender come in and undermine them. They'll sort them out very, very quickly. But again, if it's a private reserve that's fenced and there's no natural movement of the animals, they're controlling the populations, you could have, and there's no big dominant bull, you could have an elephant bull mating with the cows from as young as about between 25 and 30 years old. The cow probably wouldn't be too happy with that, because they really want the best genetics. What even is that? The best genetics. They want the strongest, the biggest bulls to mate with them, so that their offspring have got, well, the best chance of survival. So that's how it goes around. And normally they don't tolerate the younger bulls either. The cows will stand together and push them out. Sometimes they do get lucky. But isn't this great? Now they're moving off into the thicket. They're going towards that sort of new track that comes off of Mamba. We've driven it quite a bit. Karula, we used to see Karula there often, but I think they're still a little way off it, so I don't know if it's worth going around. I think we might still go towards Chitwa and try and sort of keep with our route. But here that cow's doing exactly what we were talking about earlier. She's gone from now stretching up and pulling the leaves off of the trees. She's using her very powerful trunk and head to lift that branch up, and she's getting some grass now, so she's changing what she's eating. You might actually even be able to hear her shaking the dust off. And of course, as I said, that she stopped. It's a bit windy, I think. But when they do feed on grass and they do pull bark, and not bark, roots, they have to shake all the excess soil off. Now, Nina and Jackie, you're wondering what is the gestation period for an elephant cow? It's the longest of any land mammal. It is 22 months. Isn't that amazing? I think it's quite spectacular, and with that obviously they can't give birth every single year, so they normally have a calf every 4 to 5 years. But again, that depends on so many different things. These are all just sort of guidelines. You know, if you're going to have a drought, you might find that a cow will maybe only give birth every 6 to 7 years, or even a little bit longer than that. It depends on what condition they're in, and also what condition the environment is in. It's the same thing, you know, with birds and that. Sometimes I've seen, you know, birds, maybe they don't nest because if there's no food around, how are they supposed to, or no water around, then the insects don't come, then there's nothing for them to eat. So it really just depends on what's around. You know, if you don't have any nutrients for yourself, how can you then produce an offspring? The same thing goes, it's very difficult to then develop an egg. So it really just depends. I wish these little ones would come out. There's quite a few of them gathered in this area. But unfortunately, it's very difficult for us to see, and we are limited as to where we can move around because of the silly gremlins today. But it's beautiful out here. It's nice and sheltered, so Seb and I are most certainly enjoying this. Keeping out of the wind. And as you can imagine, our hats are almost blowing off, and you saw Tristan, you know, using the excuse that he got sand in his eyes. We all know he just loves hyenas that much. And it's not pleasant. You should have seen how many times I've sneezed today already. It's been quite ridiculous. Now, Snazzy, you're wondering if the elephants have been named. And it's actually a question that gets asked quite often because we name all the cats. No, they haven't. And the reason for this is because they obviously move. They don't have a territory, so we don't see them on a regular basis. They can go wherever they want to go, and they go where the food is. However, with elephants and even with rhinos and with buffalo, they get certain cuts and scratches on their bodies. Maybe they've got a unique feature, and because these animals are constantly moving around, we do see them every now and then. So for instance, my favorite elephant in the whole wide world, he's got the sort of pet name as of Daryl, which is named by guests of mine when I was still guiding in the southern sands. And he lives at Earth Lodge at Sabi, and he comes through here every now and then. He's got a bell shape sort of cut out of his ear. Some people say it looks like the Snapchat sort of sign too. So he's got that. So we can sort of tell the difference from him when he comes through. And then also there's a short trunk family group. So it's unfortunately a cow that's lost half of her trunk due to a snare. Very, very sad, but she's still able to go about her life. So it's sort of unfortunately, she's a little bit disabled, but she actually manages. It's incredible. And I've always told the story of the other short trunk female that I know from the southern sand. She likes it down there. She doesn't seem to come around up on this side. Then, of course, what's our dear friend called? Fang? I couldn't remember. Fang I knew from southern sands before I came up here, but I've actually seen her more up in the north. We haven't seen her for a while, but I know there's a lot of elephant activity down in the south at the moment. They're seeing big herds of elephants, 100, 150, all moving around the sand and the Sabi River, so they're enjoying it down there. With the buffalo at the moment, where the vegetation is lovely, lush and green, so we sort of give these pet names to these elephants and buffalo and rhino, or, and giraffe that you see on a regular basis and that you can identify due to certain characteristics. So, but we don't name them like, of course, the lions and leopards. But I think we're going to move on from these elephants now. We're going to start making our way towards Chitwa. Tristan has been doing all sorts of wonderful things. It seems as though he's arrived at a dam. Let's go find out if there's any birds about.
Well, Taylor, there was birds about, but unfortunately I think they've been blown away by this wind that has rained down. So there were some brown-headed parrots that were lurking, but they got swept away by the wind. You can hear them in the distance. They're somewhere in that area over there. You can just hear their telltale parrot call, and you can see, look at how that wind is blowing. It's gusting through, and the dam itself is not a very pleasant place to be because it's very open, and so for small birds, actually there come the parrots now. They're coming right across. It's going to be difficult for you, Senzo, but there they go. There we go. Well done, Senzo. That's a brown-headed parrot that's just coming over. 3 of them. And other than them, there is the wildebeest. But that was very well done, Senzo. I'm very impressed that you managed to get them, because they are quite fast flyers, our brown-headed parrots. So good to see them. Now, our wildebeest, you can see, are doing what everybody else is doing by the looks of it, is they've laid down and are just trying to stay as low as possible and get out of this wind. And you can see they're all kind of hunched up together, the little ones in the middle there. I'm sure they're using the adults as a shield and a bit of a barrier and trying to stay nice and warm. So definitely not a very pleasant day for the animals out here. It must be so difficult for these kind of animals like this, because they know the night is coming, and with the night becomes predators, and the predators in wind like this must be an absolute nightmare to deal with, because their scent is being blown all over the place. The wind is swirling quite a bit, so they're going to be picking up scent. They're not going to know exactly which direction it's coming from. It means that they're going to have to be on alert the whole night. Also, they can't hear anything, the rustling of the bushes and the trees and the grass, and it really becomes very tough for them to pick up any sign. We saw it yesterday a little bit with Tumba, how he battled to pick up Tingana until Tingana was very close because of the wind yesterday. So I'd imagine for these guys it's going to be a long night as they try and stay safe. Luckily for the wildebeest, it seems as though the Nkuhuma Pride is nowhere to be seen at this stage. They're still in the Manyeleti, so these guys should be fairly safe at this stage. So David, you should actually bring up a very valid point, and one that I hope you're right about. You say with all this wind that maybe some birds will be blown in that haven't been seen around here before. Well, David, it would be fantastic if it did. I really hope that it would. The problem is that we often don't see too many birds coming in on these winds, because these winds come up through from the Cape area, and so the birds often just get stuck in other areas before they get here. When you get the winds that come off the coast, that's when we start to get real crazy rarities that come in from Mozambique and from the coastal systems. So it's more in the summer months that we get these crazy ones blown in around this side. Generally, though, these cold front systems, we don't get too much that comes in. It's never say never. It could be. We know that one of the first photographic records of a Ross's Turako was photographed this week in Botswana, so it is possible that rarities could show up at any stage. Certainly would be nice to get a rarity. I wonder what bird I would like to see. I'm trying to think of a bird that I would like to see blown into this area. Maybe something like a spotted creeper. Imagine that. Now, for those of you who don't know what a spotted creeper is, I'm going to try and find it somewhere in my book while you gaze upon our wildebeest herd as they ruminate and relax and take it easy. Now, where am I going to find our creeper? 340, there it is. Spotted creeper would be a winning bird for here. Not that it's ever been recorded in South Africa. It's only seen in the eastern highlands of Zimbabwe, northern and eastern highlands of Zimbabwe. So this is what it looks like. It's a pretty little bird. It's very, very small. It only weighs about 16 grams, so it's a tiny little thing. But that's it over there. You can see it's got little spotted wings and stripy tummy, and it hops about on trees that have lichen and moss, and it actually blends in incredibly well. So something like that would be super cool to see. It's always one of those birds that you would want in this area, but unfortunately, like I say, don't even occur in South Africa at this stage, which is not ideal. Right, well, I think we're going to carry on. I'm going to try and see if I can't find any further signs of any other life as we meander our way through the thicket. And given that we know there is a leopard somewhere close to Galago Pan, we know there's tracks, we know there's been alarm calls during the day, so there is a leopard there. It hasn't come out. We've checked those roads all around. It definitely hasn't come out of there, which means that I think it's time to just go do a couple of loops around some other areas. Maybe worth just to go and check that new road, see if Shadow's not lurking around. I know a lot of you are worried about Shadow and where she's been and what's been happening with her, so might as well go just have a little look around there and then come back as that sun is setting and hope that that leopard, or whoever it is, starts moving around and we maybe get another alarm call or something like that and we're able to find it. So I think that's going to be the plan from now. So Chantal, if you can just repeat the name. Sorry, the wind is making it very difficult to hear. Bill. Right, Bill, you want to know whether or not there's been any DNA studies between leopard and jaguar. Bill, there might have been. I honestly have no idea. I really don't know. It's possible that there has been. They are obviously a different species altogether. Even though they both have those rosetted coats, they are physiologically very different animals. The jaguar is bigger, it's stronger, shorter tail, it's more powerful than what the leopard is. I suppose there are a few little similarities there, but I don't know if anyone's done a DNA study. I certainly would be quite interested if someone has. So maybe if any of you out there have seen some sort of papers on that or studies on that, would be able to help us out. It certainly would make for interesting reading if there has been. Yeah? Tara as well. You think Tara's done that kind of stuff? She would be interested in it, I'm sure. Even if she has seen it, I'm sure she would be able to tell us about it. But if she hasn't seen it, Tara most certainly would be interested in anything that to do with the spotted cats piques Tara's interest, much like the rest of us as well. Now, slowly just going along, just checking in case there isn't anything lurking under a bush somewhere here. It's that kind of weather that you would think that something's going to be just curled up somewhere along the line, and we're going to get lucky at some point. We have to. It's not that we're not trying, so it's just got to be right place at right time, and something's going to appear. Paula, you're wondering what the hardest animal is to track in the bush? Well, there's a reason why when you do your tracking assessments out here and you learn to be a tracker and you try and get qualified as a tracker, that they test you by doing the ultimate test at the end, which is tracking a leopard. So leopards are one of the hardest animals to track. We're lucky here that our leopards are fairly habituated and fairly relaxed with people on foot, and so we're able to get quite close to them on foot and then see them and move and then come get vehicles and find them that way. Other parts of the world, they'll see a vehicle and they're just going to go running in the other direction. But a leopard is one of the hardest to track. They don't follow any sorts of rules. There's a small track that you're trying to look for in a big area, so it is really not an easy animal to track at all. Here in the Sabi Sands as well, we've got a lot of roads, which makes it a little bit easier, but you go into some of the other wilderness areas where there's no roads and you can really be tested by leopards. And so that's why when you want to qualify as the top level tracker, that's what you've got to do. You've got to try and trail a leopard track and find the leopard, and so they certainly are the hardest of all of the big animals. Of course, there's other animals like insects and those kind of things, which also provide a completely different tracking experience, and they're also really hard to track, but it's a different kind of thing. In terms of the animals, the leopard would be one of the hardest. There is a beautiful fork-tailed drongo in this afternoon light. You can see how it's glowing and shining, and that deep fork in the tail that gives it its name. Now we do get another bird that looks very similar to this, but will have a squared off end to its tail, and that is known as a black flycatcher. It's also a slightly different beak shape to the drongo, but these guys are quite common, both of them. So you've always got to look for the tail. As soon as you see that big forked deep V tail, you know fork-tailed drongo. And I know Tara was saying this is her favorite bird, and I do like them too because they're highly intelligent birds. They remind me a lot of crows, funny enough, which is, I know crows often have negative connotations, but they are incredibly intelligent as well. And you'll find that these guys are super sneaky. They're able to mimic and imitate varying different species of bird and mammal, and they do that to be able to find food. So they'll mimic alarm calls of mongoose, which will allow them to the mongoose to run away if they've got a food item, and the drongo to come in and eat. They do it with meerkats. They do same call as a pearl-spotted owlet, which hunts other birds, so all the other birds disappear if there's a food source. So they've got a number of little tricks up their sleeve and are very intelligent about the way that they use them. So very good mimics as well. And then up on top, you've got a magpie shrike that, how it's hanging on, I'm not quite sure up there. You can see it's having a bit of difficulty. It's been blown about, its long tail fluttering in the breeze, and well, there it goes. But imagine that bird's having a struggle. Most of the birds that have those short start wings are going to have a tough time with flying this afternoon. Now, from one bird to another, I believe Taylor is also joining in the birding this afternoon, and she's got a rather large, a rather majestic individual to show you.
We have indeed, but don't discredit your beautiful birds that you had. It sounds like you're having a wonderful time too. We've got a very wind-blown fish eagle, which seems to be the trend today. Not the fish eagle, but the wind-blown part. Feathers ruffling quite a bit. Luckily, it's on quite a strong tree and a good solid perch. I think it's definitely using its talents today, not to just catch fish, but to actually help it hold on. I can't imagine what it must be like up top there. I also feel sorry for the giraffe today. It's very difficult for them to find any shelter. Now, we are around at Chitwa Dam, and what I want to do is look at the sky. Isn't that crazy? Look at that dark wall of clouds coming into us, and we're driving straight towards us. Madmen, aren't we, Sebastian? Heading towards the colour of the water matches the sky today. That's unusual. It doesn't look like rain just yet. It's just a thick covering of clouds. It's the sky. The clouds are still quite high. However, if that drops, we're going to be in a bit of trouble. Then I think we might get rain, and it would be a good thing. I'm not for rain at this time of the year. I think the bush is just really starting to look as good as it's going to get. Let's go a little bit further now. We're telling you this morning how we've actually upgraded the mast here, so we're testing signal as we go about. Now normally Chantal would be going, no, don't move, stay stationary, you know, because the gremlins really do attack us in this area. Should we test it out, Chantal? We might as well. Goes. I've got a panic. I thought Chantal said, oh, we've crash cut already. Oh wow, wait, we're not going anywhere. There's a hippo fight going on. What's happening? Oh my goodness. Somebody got too close to someone. Sure. There's like a tornado in the water there. Now, everyone else has also gone underwater. I'm trying to figure out exactly if it was two males fighting or if it was two females that had a dispute amongst each other. Those also aren't uncommon. Very interesting. And now everything seems to have settled down. That happened so quickly. Literally within a blink of an eye, as I was too busy chatting and looked away from the watering hole. Okay, let's try again. Let's try and go a little bit further forward. Very interesting. Now, it's like an ocean today. There's plenty of waves that are being made, not created, but oh, stop it. Just wait, let me settle down and we get a nice spot to keep opening their mouths and doing all these ridiculous things. Now, we never were able to do any sort of show you anything parked from this point, so that's good. That's a huge improvement for us. That's good news. Let's see if these hippos are going to get a little bit rowdy again. You can see they're battling the waves as well. Who's going to open their mouth next? Oh, look at that gorgeous light. Also, lots of swallows flying around at the moment to try and, or martins, try and figure out exactly who they are. We'll do that in a moment though. I just want to watch what these hippos are. I don't want to miss any more action, because it is quite nice to see them opening their mouths. Oh, there's a little one. Hello. So maybe it was two females, two hippo cows. Perhaps one cow got a little bit too close, or the youngster got too close to another one, and it was just mom defending her youngster. Like I said, these things happen quite often. They bump and bash each other, and a little scuffle, sort of probably a bit of swearing in a hippo language, and then they carry on. The nice pod. I'm surprised that they're here in the spot out in the wind, and just like the rest of the animals, they don't really enjoy it either. I thought that they would have moved all the way into the eastern corner where it's very sheltered, but perhaps they won't get any sun down that corner because it's quite sort of dense with trees. Are you having a little snooze? Are you just loving the afternoon sun? Isn't that cool? Now I'm opening my bird app while you watch the hippopotamus. I want to quickly see which swallows we've got, if it's the European swallows or who is flying about here. My favorite, I actually like the pearl-breasted swallows. They're quite nice. Let's see. So they had a very white chest and a very dark back. Do they have a band? Are they perhaps barn swallows? Or do they have a very white throat? Maybe they are the pearl-breasted. We'll see when they fly about over the top of the hippos. You might actually have to help me and take a screenshot and then give me key identifying features, because they're moving so quickly. Or are you martins? I'm trying to think now. You see when the pearl-breasted come back, they should be on their way back. Let's go status, not status. When do they come to South Africa? Yeah, it's about now, from August right through to April. So I'm not quite sure exactly which swallows are. Could be the pearl-breasted. I don't see a particular band on their throats which would indicate that there would be barn swallows, also no brown or white-throated swallows. I didn't see anything like that. Let's see, maybe I don't think they're not saw wings. I don't know if they're martins. Mosque swallows. I don't think I've ever seen a mosque swallow. Let me look for mosque swallows. This is from Tristan, of course. Where are you? So it's not the mosque swallows, because these have got a completely white belly, and the mosque swallows, from what I'm looking at the moment, has got quite a sort of chestnut belly. So I wonder if it's not the pearl-breasted around here. Or do they have a band under their throat? It's hard to see. Oh well, we'll figure it out at some point. I'll see if I can't take a picture. Here comes one. No, I think they are pearl-breasted. One just flew close by. Here we go, hippo opening its mouth. Always nice to see, definitely standing out against the dark contrast. What are you, just stirring the bubble bath in the jacuzzi? Oh no, you're getting upset with that hippo. I'd also be very upset if I got a bottom to my face. It's interesting, the dynamics sort of with hippos, and I'm looking forward to going to Kenya, because just with the sitting and watching them on the river cans is obviously quite fascinating. And because they occur in larger pods than they do here in South Africa, well, in the areas that we drive around, it'd be nice to sort of watch the dynamics again and sort of figure out exactly how the sort of family structure works. Remember, it's the females again that stick together, and the youngsters, well, sometimes you see mom and the youngsters actually going off and forming their own little mini pod, and there'll be one dominant bull, sometimes some younger bulls that are quite submissive, not showing any interest in the girls, and they'll be tolerated around here. But because it's a smaller area, we sort of see a couple of different groups around here, and we often see a pod down this side, and there's three, in my opinion, there's about 3 different family groups that we see. Paula, you were actually wondering about the dynamics of hippos, but I want to take a minute though, just have a little listen. You can hear the water slushing up against the edge of the banks. The hippos, of course, vocalizing. Very interesting. Very noisy. I can barely hear the voices in my head today. It's unusual. Usually they're quite loud as well. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. You need a good scrub. Tally-ho, you say that you're shivering just watching that hippo. Don't worry, the hippos will actually be fairly warm, I reckon. They won't be too worried about the cold weather. However, Sebastian and I, on the other hand, are freezing this afternoon. I think I made a grave mistake again by not bringing out more jackets. We might have to swing past home at some point. I'm still trying to figure out what swallows these are. Has anybody else sort of given their opinion as to what they could be? I don't know if they maybe are barn swallows, or maybe white-throated. It's just so hard to tell. Let me see when the white-throateds come back. And also intra-African migrants, so they should be coming back now. Yeah, again, because some of them look like they're completely sort of that beautiful white, right from the top of their, so underside of their beaks, right down their bellies, and then every now and then I see some that look like they've got bands. So they could either be the pearl-breasted or the white-throated. I've yet to see any of that chestnut color on them. Definitely not wire-tailed swallows, that's for sure. I've never seen a wire-tailed swallow before. We'll figure it out eventually. If you do manage to get a screenshot, please share it with us, hashtag Safari Live. We're really great to have a look, and then of course we can make an accurate, what am the word I'm looking for? The wind took it. ID. Right, I couldn't even think of that. It's going to be fantastic. Okay, well that's quite good. Let's see, if we can just go quickly to the island. I want to see if Vlad is around, or Boris. We want to test it as well. So here we go. So I apologize if we do have gremlins hopping on board, but you'll safely go across to Tristan. Pied wagtails. I know Karen has started her list of birds, and I don't think she would have seen those pied wagtails. They're just in front over there, in front of the turtle dove. There they run. Hello. Here we go. There's another one for you. And for anyone else that's doing a list, they're beautiful birds. Definitely struggling with the wind today, though. Run, run. And we see their tails go over the tops of their heads. I've always wanted to see a bird do a somersault before. Or actually, in South Africa, we would say a bola makisi. Isn't that a strange word to describe a somersault? So there we go. Quite pretty. Well, let's carry on. Let's move along the edge of the banks. And I need to check my plover nest. We're totally going to go check the signal.
Now, unfortunately, Taylor seems to be plagued by gremlins in the last little bit, and you can see there's a Kudu that is just staring at us at the moment. She's also wondering whether or not we pose a threat in these windy conditions. She's puffed up, she's looking, using those big ears to try and determine what's going on over all this rustling of trees and bushes and wind that's howling through towards her ears. Look how she's watching so intently. You can see that they're far more nervous when conditions are like this than they would be normally. You can imagine this is when big ears become a hindrance. The more the size of the ear, the bigger the size of the ear, should I say, not the more, I don't know why I said that, but the bigger the size of the ear, the harder it is for them to hear because of all the wind that's getting funneled in there and being trapped. She must be battling to hear what's going on at the moment. She's not moving at all. Now the rest of the herd is around. It's not just her by herself. It would be quite unusual to see a female kudu by herself, but the rest are just moving through those thickets in that area. Paula, you say I'm getting the evil eye. I am getting the evil eye from her. She's staring at me, making sure that I'm not bringing bad company. So sometimes these animals are quite used to the fact that the vehicles follow predators, and so they see a vehicle and they often just check us out and make sure that we're not, like I say, bringing the bad company with us and bringing those that are not invited to the party. Oh, there comes a bit of sun, which will be welcome, I'm sure. Look at the nose also working. So cool. Roshni, you say they have such pretty lashes. Well, and they do have nice lashes, but I think definitely the lashes category winner must be the giraffe. They have these big, long, beautiful lashes. So I'm told, according to ladies out there, they all say that the giraffe have the best lashes. Oh, look at that sun now that it's coming out. How beautiful is that? And those big orange ears, and that coat is actually going a more golden color. Jacqueline, you say that they look as though they have a milk moustache. Well, yes, that little white marking around the mouth does actually look like that. I've never thought of it, but you're very right. See, look at how she's watching. A little bird flew past and far more alert as that bird went. There she goes. She departs the scene. She's done with me. Time to carry on and give the beady eye to somebody else. Right, Senzo, I think let's carry on as well. It certainly is getting very chilly out here now. It's not pleasant at all. I'm all bundled up, but if you think that I'm bundled up, you should see Senzo. Senzo's got a beanie, he's got jackets and jerseys, and well, he looks as though he's going to be in for it. And also, just so you can all see how Senzo rolls in the back, this is his... Oh, Senzo, have I caught it? This is Senzo's big fluffy blanket. So this is going to be used later. You can see it's very furry, and that's what Senzo wraps around himself to stay nice and cool, or nice and warm should I say, in the back there. So we'll tuck that away again, Senzo. I'm sure you're going to need this earlier rather than later this afternoon, because it's starting to get quite chilly. Now it sounds like, if I heard this correctly, that Taylor McCurdy has got a reptile on the back of the vehicle, and I hope she's not referring to Seb, but let's go across and see.
I don't know if I understood any of that. The wind sort of unfortunately drowned out Chantal's words, but we're sitting with a crocodile. I can't figure out if it's Boris or Vlad just yet, because his tail is curled around the other way and I can't see if it's missing a tip or not. Now, I didn't want to wait too long. Now, obviously we're talking about quite a few different things today. It's hard to tell because it just goes around the corner, so you can't see. A lot of people want to know what the difference between crocodiles and alligators are, and it's fair enough. It's a very, very good question, and it's quite a simple answer. One will see you later, and the other one will see you in a while. So bad. Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to start calling me Byron after a while. Not even hearing anything from Chantal, so it must have been that bad. Wasn't that bad? Everyone's gone quiet. Either that or they can't breathe because they're laughing so hard. Oh, whatever. To me, it was that bad. I thought it was fantastic. I saw it while I was on leave and I've been waiting. Absolutely couldn't wait to find a crocodile so that I could say it. But I have seen the mosque swallows that Tristan was talking about. There are a couple of them flying around too, but they're not beautiful. There's crocodile. I don't think this crocodile would. I think we'd be very snappy about the fact that he'd be squashed. Ha ha ha, look at me go. Now, I am shocked that the hippopotamus are not in this area. Crocodile's got the best spot. There's very little wind around here. You can see the water's slight ripples, but it's sheltered. So if I was a hippo, I'd be hanging around here. And there's also a little bird, seeing as though we have been doing some birding, just down to the left of the crocodile. I think it's a wood sandpiper. Looks like one, because it is a little sandpiper. Hello. We haven't been seeing too many of them. Walking about, probing into the mud looking for insects. So I can't remember. Oh no, they do. Never mind, I've just answered my own question. I was about to say I can't remember if sandpipers also pick the insects off the surface of the water like the lapwings and the plovers do, but clearly we saw that happen just then. Not only do they probe their bills into the mud, and they also catch them on the surface of the water too. And with a windy day like today, I think that they would have a lot of luck in terms of finding insects, just because they will all be blown into the water if they have been moving around. What else have we got here? There's some, not vultures, there's some Egyptian geese just in front of the lodge. I don't know if it's got goslings or not. I can just see some smaller birds. Oh no, you got it. Yeah. Oh, look at them. Oh, cool. So obviously these don't have a particular breeding scene or not this area.
Now, unfortunately, it seems as though Taylor has once again lost signal. So she's doing lots of birding around the dam, which is fantastic, but hopefully that signal sorts itself out and everything comes right at some point. So Chantal is saying that we're going for some kind of crash cut record from Taylor's vehicle. Luckily from our side, I don't think we've had one yet, have we, Taylor? I don't know. Have we had one, Senzo? No, I don't think so. Rusty is being a champion today. Well done, Rusty. Holding thumbs, as they say, or crossing fingers that we don't get one. Now that we've been speaking, it's one of those situations. As you say it will happen. But so far, Rusty is definitely outperforming Wendy today. Maybe Wendy's not up for the cold. She's decided it's time to go back home and go and park under the cover of her garage and make sure that she stays warm. It's okay, Wendy, don't worry, we'll get rid of all the dust when it's done and you'll be fine. But we're slowly just kind of moving along the southern boundary at the moment. As you can see, I'm not exactly moving in any great hurry or pace. I'm trying to scan and look and see if I can't find any sign whatsoever of any of our animals along the southern boundary. Also keeping a very close eye out for any signs of shadow. I'm going to go check that new road, going to go scratch around there and see if there isn't some sort of tracks. Of course, now nobody has driven there for the last 3 days, I don't think, or 2 days. So of course you could have been up and down all over the place, and that's going to make tracking a little on the tougher side. We're certainly going to have our work cut out to try and work out exactly what's going on if there is lots of tracks there. But hopefully there will be nice fresh ones from today, or better still, she'll be lounging on a mound somewhere with a nicely healed leg and just taking it very easy and absorbing some of the sunshine that is out this afternoon. That's what I'm going to hope for. Got to live in the positive side of life, apparently, according to some. And there's a wildebeest over there. And I wonder if this is our chap that just spends all his time by himself here at the Brown Ivory. I just thought I heard a Franklin. No Franklin. But our wildebeest, I promise you, he is here. He's just walking up the new road at the moment, or somewhere close to the new road. Where has he gone? Now, earlier I must have heard very wrong, as I thought I might have, because there was a reptile on the bank, not on the back of the car, it's like I heard. So I do apologize, Seb, and I'm sure Taylor roared with laughter. She normally does laugh at me all the time. Oh, he's got friends today. It's not by himself at all. Excellent. Look at that. So there's our second group of wildebeest for the day. Not just the ones that we have around Djuma Dam or Gari Dam. We've got this herd as well down in the south. So this is a newer grouping that we've been seeing in this area. They don't spend as much time as the ones that we see up near Quarantine, because there's not too many open areas for these guys to survive. You sometimes see them on Impala Plains and then up towards Sandy Patch, but for the most part I think they spend a lot of their time around Arathusa airstrip. I think it's the same herd that is often that side. But they've done very well for themselves, because they found themselves a perfect area for the night. You can see here it's quite open and quite clear, so it's a perfect place to bed down in weather like this. They'll be able to see anything coming quite clearly. They'll also be nice and open. There's not too much sort of cover for anything to lie in, and the wind itself won't cause as much noise when it's open like this. There'll be a bit of rustling of the grass, but it's not the leaves that are making as much noise as if you're deep inside a thicket. It's quite nice, all of them in a row like that. You can see all the little mouths feeding away.